How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Dylan, and I'm back with another episode of Real Talk. And today I'm going back to a Moment in Time series. I'm going to be doing a lot of those because obviously Time Magazine is a weekly publication and there's lots to talk about. So, getting into that, my first article, I've got two of them for you today in this video. First one is by Charlie Campbell. And it is entitled, "Cricket Hero Imran Khan Led Pakistan's Team to Victory. As a politician, he's riding a populist wave." A couple Khan quick facts. All-rounder. Khan became captain of Pakistan's cricket team in 1982 and led it to a World Cup victory in 1992. Game plan. In 1996, Khan founded his centrist Movement for Justice party with the goal of creating a welfare state. Bouncing back, Khan failed to make any significant gains until 2013 when his party came in third. His anti-corruption platform has since drawn major public support. Alright, the pothole road to Imran Khan's home in Islamabad curls for a mile up a steep hill, where the cricketer turned politician can escape the dust, fumes and backstabbing of Pakistan's sprawling capital below. The lofty settings gives his converted farmhouse a fortress-like perch, one that hums with the energy of a government in waiting, Khan says. The world once knew Khan as the Oxford-educated playboy who captained Pakistan to its only Cricket World Cup victory in 1992 and married British heiress Jemima Goldsmith, a close friend of Princess Diana's. But after 2 decades in his country's turbulent political arena, Khan, 65, has a real shot at running the country. On July 25th, Pakistan chooses a new government in general elections. To become prime minister, Khan needs his Movement for Justice party, founded in 1996, to break the stranglehold of the two main political dynasties that have been in power for decades between periods of military rule. He is running an anti-graft ticket, promising an end to the corruption that he says has led the nuclear-armed South Asian nation of 208 million to the edge of failure as a state. So, I'd like to say I'd just like to say that with this kind of thing, I hope that he can do it. I hope he can win. I hope he can get into power, and I hope that he lives up to it. Because that's the type of thing that we need in the world, and we need that here. We need to break this two-party system that we have. What is the word I'm looking for? Metaphorical, I guess. Good cop, bad cop, to the Republicans and the Democrats. And it doesn't work. You can't represent the extreme diversity of Americans with just two parties. And it surely doesn't allow for far enough oversight and accountability. So, but the problem is we've seen a lot of times when you have these political hopefuls that are trying to make changes, they get there and then they change. They don't make the changes, they change. So hopefully he can do it, and hopefully he stays true to his convictions and can make some change in Pakistan. Anyway, Khan hopes to yoke public anger after last year's ouster of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif for corruption. Riding a wave of social media outrage, he successfully petitioned the Supreme Court to disqualify Sharif from politics. It's a big victory, Khan says, but the struggle is now on. The corrupt political elite is trying to protect itself. We have hit rock bottom. The poor are getting poorer, and a tiny number of people are getting richer. Yeah, he speaks to exactly what's going on here, and obviously it's America who caused a lot of the chaos and craziness in the Middle East. If it wasn't for what we did over there, ISIS wouldn't even be a thing. And you could argue, well, we had to go over there because blah, 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 blah. We didn't have to do shit. And again, people, don't fool yourselves into thinking that some of the rich and powerful and power here in this country were not involved in 9/11. Don't think that America wasn't an aggressor in that situation, because we certainly were. Pakistan's woes are indeed grave. It has spiraling debt and a record trade deficit of 36 billion. Some 29.5% of the population lives below the poverty line, according to government data, with literacy rates at just 58%. Power shortages regularly plunge homes and factories into darkness. Pakistan is also a key supply route, an unsteady ally in the U.S.'s 16-year war in Afghanistan. Its military, which remains the country's most powerful institution, nominally supports the U.S., but for reasons of its own, also cultivates jihadi groups, including the Taliban. President Trump used his first tweet of 2018 to decry the $33 billion in aid that he claimed the U.S. had foolishly provided to Pakistan in exchange for nothing but lies and deceit. He wrote, "Then give safe havens to the terrorists we hunt in Afghanistan. No more." He has since withheld $2 billion in security aid to Pakistan, prompting Khan to press the government to immediately remove excessive U.S. diplomatic, non-diplomatic, and intelligence personnel from Pakistan, and deny the U.S. ground and air communication facilities which we were providing free of cost. Islamabad played down the spat, but for Khan, his nation's role in the U.S.-led Afghanistan war has been a disaster that has cost 70,000 Pakistani lives, weakened the domestic security situation, and ripped more than $100 billion from the economy. It's not just about economics. Anti-American rhetoric has long been a populist vote winner here. At a rally behind razor-wire balustrades adorned with the PTI signature green and red bunting, a fist-pumping Khan exhorts thousands of supporters to never be slaves of America. Trump has doused those nationalist embers with verbal gasoline, equating Muslims with terrorists and successfully banning citizens of 5 Muslim-majority nations from traveling to the U.S. It's crazy. I found him very offensive, humiliating, and just clueless about Islam, says Khan, because he is. He absolutely is. And he's just a blatant racist and a bigot and a fucking misogynist, and he's fucking crazy. But he did something worse. He took the lid off the Islamophobia, and it became a free-for-all. Despite his antipathy to long-standing U.S. policies, Khan insists he is not anti-American, but he is also looking to rival superpower China, which is Pakistan's #1 trading partner. Islamabad is the single largest buyer of Chinese weaponry. A new $62 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor of ports, pipelines, railways, and power plants is under construction to the Chinese-built Gwadar port in Baluchistan. For Khan, burgeoning ties with Beijing are a great opportunity. Khan's own political career as opposition firebrand has now lasted longer than his career on the cricket field. Born in 1952 to an affluent Pashtun family in Lahore, the capital of the Punjab province, Khan went on to study politics, philosophy, and economics at Oxford University. It was in the UK that he first played cricket for Pakistan at age 18. Adept with both bat and ball, he is credited for turning his nation into an international cricketing force. Cricket captaincy strengthened me to take pressure, says Khan. You have to make moment-to-moment decisions. The greatest obstacle to Khan's political career has perhaps been his personal life. After 9 years of marriage, he and Jemima Khan, who had converted to Islam for their wedding, divorced in 2004. The couple's 2 sons live in London with their mother. Khan's second marriage to British-Pakistani journalist Reham Khan in 2015 lasted only months. In February, he married his spiritual guide Bushra Maneka. Khan may have spent his earlier years carousing with supermodels under the paparazzi glare of London's nightclubs, but the debonair playboy has had to grow up. Politics here is not normal, he says. In England, it's a piece of cake. In America, it's pretty easy. But here you are up against mafias. There is physical danger. Oh, there's physical danger here too, buddy. Don't fucking think there ain't. The question now is what a victory for Khan might mean for U.S. security interests. The roots of all terrorist movements are in politics, never in religion, Khan says carefully, fingering a string of Islamic prayer beads, but many have criticized him for not being tough enough on the Pakistan Taliban. The group's 2014 massacre at a school in Peshawar, killing 149, including 132 children, was condemned even by the Afghan Taliban. Khan still called for talks. Asked in 2016 whether Osama bin Laden was a terrorist, he declined to comment. Critics have nicknamed him Taliban Khan. Despite Khan's courting of the hardliners, his chances of victory appear slim. A Gallup poll in May gave Sharif's former party a 13-point lead over the PTI. Still, Khan is enjoying broader support today than in the 2013 election when the PTI came in third, largely thanks to the military, which loathes the Sharif political machine and has adopted strong-arm tactics to boost Khan's leadership bid. PTI will certainly be a force to be reckoned with in the election, says Michael Kugelman, a South Asia expert at the Woodrow Wilson Center. Khan has been able to project himself accurately, in my view, as an incorruptible new type of politician who doesn't have ties to special interests. Well, that certainly would be something that has not been seen too often in this world. So, who knows, man? I mean, we certainly need more incorruptible people. I wish him the best. Khan also takes solace in the fact that opinion polls can be misleading, as the U.S. discovered in 2016. Indeed, his tirades against the establishment, his showbiz charisma, and his volcanic use of social media have drawn comparisons with the current occupant of the White House. Is he simply a Pakistani Trump? Compare me to Bernie Sanders, Khan says, laughing. I'm the opposite of Donald Trump. Good for you, my friend. Good for you. Well, you know, I don't know. Hopefully he can win, man. I mean, and hopefully that's true. Hopefully he is opposite of Donald Trump, the anti-Trump, because we need more anti-Trumps in this world. We need more incorruptible people who are going to do the right thing, you know, and think about the greater good, you know, not fuck people over and, you know, actually aspire to making the world a better place instead of a better place for them. Only them. Right? So, good luck to him, and we'll see what happens with that. Moving on. Let's see. Alright, so this next article, The View. 7 moments from U.S. history that matter now. The dates most Americans remember, July 4th, 1776, for example, work as shorthand for signal events. If change takes place across decades, individual moments remind us what came before and how we get to where we are. So with Americans celebrating their country at a time of widespread disagreement about what it stands for, Time asked top historians to nominate moments that resonate now, moments that just might serve as the mnemonic devices the nation seems to need. On these pages, several explain their choices. Okay. First one, 1954. The U.S. begins mass deportation of Mexican immigrants. Surprise, surprise. Good Lord. Why do we hate Mexicans so much? Why do we hate people so much, period? This is craziness. Absolute absurdity. Whew. In 1954, the federal government carried out one of its first mass deportations of Mexican immigrants from the U.S. Operation Wetback, as it was known. Jesus Christ, man. And then they're just blatantly fucking racist about it, too. Good for you, America. Good for you. Jesus. Ended up separating parents from their children, stranding deportees in the deserts of northern Mexico without food or water, and damaging the U.S.'s reputation at home and abroad. Like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Seriously, people. Like, and hold on. So, this happened in 1954. It is now, let's see, just because sometimes I get a little fuzzy on these sorts of things, the date as of today is July 18th, 2018. Let's see if I can do some quick math here. 46, 56, 64. 64 years later, Donald Trump is living up to the fucking, following in the footsteps of, you know, previous American leaders. Like, come on, man. This is fucking crazy. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. Those reservations fell by the wayside as a wave of anti-Mexican animus, triggered by an economic recession, led the Immigration and Naturalization Service to adopt a highly militarized approach to immigration law enforcement, with Operation Wetback at its center. That is just disgraceful and abhorrent and appalling. Like, how more blatantly, belligerently racist can we be? Operation Wetback. I just... I take offense to that. I take extreme offense to that, because then I have to be this white male American fucking that, you know, gets lumped into the rest of the fucking jackasses because, you know, shit like this happens. I would like to state for the record, and I've stated this before, I'm not a racist person, right? And I don't hate on any, you know, race, religion. I don't hate on, you know, sex, gender, sexual preference, gender, none of that stuff, right? Like, I think all people should be equal, point blank, period. But I think that white people in general have commit the most severe atrocities throughout, you know, human history. I mean, if you look at it, it's just true. You got Hitler and Mussolini, you got people like that, you got, you know, these jackasses, you know, throughout history from Russia that are fucking, they're just fucking crazy. They're just fucking crazy. And then you think of, you know, Napoleon and Caesar and all these fucking, it's, I mean, bro, as a white person, as a white male, I want to decry the actions of my people. It's crazy, it's crap, and I think it's bullshit. And like I said, frankly, all people just need to be equal. Enough of this fucking bickering amongst ourselves. Since 1954, mass deportations have become so routine that the American public now takes them for granted. We have forgotten that there was a time in U.S. history when the removal of hundreds of thousands of immigrants by the federal government was unthinkable. Yeah, well, apparently in this day and age, you can just do whatever the fuck you want, no matter how bad it is. There will be no consequences. Well, the people at the top, excuse me, sorry, because most people, that's not the case for, but they can just do whatever the fuck they want, no matter how heinous it is, and it's just whatever. And the rest of us just look at it like, you know, that's just how it is these days. Alright, next one. 1925, the Scopes trial chastens fundamentalists. When populist politician William Jennings Bryan faced off against attorney Clarence Darrow, it was the highlight of the Scopes trial, a case about teaching evolution in Tennessee that had captured national attention, and the capstone of the fundamentalist modernist controversy in the Protestant churches. Darrow grilled Bryan on his interpretation of well-known Bible stories. Did he really believe that the whale swallowed Jonah, that Joshua made the sun stand still, and that Adam and Eve were the first people? Bryan answered yes, but Darrow made him admit he didn't know how these things happened and didn't know any geology or ancient history. The big city journalists reported that Darrow had revealed Bryan's ignorance and the absurdity of his biblical literalism. The great commoner died 5 days later as if the defeat had killed him. The fundamentalists retreated from battle, dismissed by the rest of society, but they flourished under the radar of the press, planting churches from California to Virginia. In 1979, Jerry Falwell surprised everyone by launching a powerful political movement of fundamentalists and other conservative evangelicals. 37 years later, with white evangelical voters making up more than a quarter of the electorate, the Christian right helped elect Donald Trump. You know, I'd like to revise a previous statement. I hate religion. I really do. Now, when I say that, I don't, you know, discriminate against people because they're religious, you know, and I'm definitely, you know, cool to talk to people about it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and, you know, condemn somebody like I've been condemned by Christians saying that I'm going to hell because I don't believe in God. I wouldn't do that to people. But I hate Christianity because Christianity, religion in general, but Christianity more specifically, simply because of the fact that, I mean, dating back to the founding of Christianity from the beginning, whatever, you know, when the Roman Catholic Church first really started coming into, you know, power, I mean, they've just done so much terrible shit, it's just unfathomable. and they continue to, lead people, mislead people, into becoming just bad, horrible people under some fucking stupid premise that, some imaginary being, calls for, demands it or whatever the fuck. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. 1991. Anita Hill speaks up on harassment. We cannot forget what Anita Hill faced when she spoke at the Senate Judiciary hearings on the nomination of Justice Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court. Hill was an African-American lawyer facing an all-white, all-male Senate committee gathered to hear testimony on Thomas's character, including Hill's claims of sexual harassment as his employee at the Department of Education and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Oh, Lord. Motherfuckers are so goddamn hypocritical, too. She worked for this dude at the Department of Education and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And then he sexually harasses her. Awesome. Ultimately, Thomas was confirmed, and Hill encountered public scrutiny as her credibility and veracity were questioned well after the hearing. Why? Because she's a black woman and she was accusing a white male of doing something terrible. That's it. That's it. That's the only reason why she was discredited. Because she's a black female and she accused a white male of doing something bad. Oh my God. Wow. Fucking arrogance. I hate white arrogance. Like, I hate Jesus. I really do, people. I really do hate the white privilege bullshit. I really do. I wish these motherfuckers would get what is coming to them. And, I mean, there are bad people from all races and all backgrounds and so on and so forth. And I hate them all for being bad people, But really, the people that I want to, do something about, whatever, if you will, tend to be the fucking rich white males that fucking think they're better than everybody, man. I can't stand that shit. Ugh. Still, Hill's brave testimony garnered a strong feminist mobilization and helped lead to the enactment of workplace and government policies on sexual harassment that would enable victims to seek justice. In 2018, we bear witness to the reach and ramifications of the Me Too movement, which began with another black woman, Tarana Burke, and has continued the difficult work of reshaping relations between men and women, and exposing the wrongdoings of powerful men, including those in Washington's halls of power. It's fucking disgusting. 1863, Abraham Lincoln reminds America of its founding principles. When Abraham Lincoln dedicated a national cemetery to the soldiers who had died at Gettysburg 4 months after that central battle of the Civil War, he was not the principal speaker. But no other speech that day has been remembered the way Lincoln's words are. He spoke of the past, of the proposition that all men are created equal, on which the Republic was founded. He spoke of the present, of the sacrifices ordinary men in blue had made to vindicate that proposition. And he spoke of a future in which Americans must continue to dedicate themselves to the great task of preserving that ideal forever. We have not only failed, but we have failed tragically, miserably, and in flaming chaos. Nothing else anchors the challenges of our present to the intentions of our past more clearly than the Gettysburg Address. Whatever else changes in American life, that proposition does not change, and holding it close is the best guarantee that democracy will endure. 1918. American troops changed the course of World War I and U.S. influence. Although the Meuse-Argonne campaign is little remembered today, it was the greatest U.S. military contribution to World War I and the opening act of the American century. The 47 autumn days of brutal fighting claimed 26,277 American lives, making it the deadliest battle in the nation's history, and left nearly 100,000 doughboys wounded. This sacrifice materially contributed to the collapse of the German army. It earned Woodrow Wilson a major role in crafting the peace that followed. and it demonstrated that the U.S., which had generally avoided great power entanglements, had the will and ability to assume a major role on the world stage by using its vast military, political, and economic power to secure its global interests and further the nation's worldview. But the Muse Argonne also highlights the fact that hard-won victories do not always lead to a just and enduring peace, a lesson that is as crucial today as it was back then. I don't know if I was saying that right, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. We just can't seem to fucking ever learn from the mistakes that we make. It's highly confusing. It really is. 1565. Explorers bridged the Pacific. The first successful voyage across the Pacific Ocean from the Americas to Asia and back occurred in 1564 and 1565. Barely 2 generations after Columbus's more famous voyage, European explorers faced an ocean that was roughly twice as large as the Atlantic and extremely difficult to navigate. This epic passage established a trans-Pacific link, and no other shipping route has been more successful or lasted longer. Trade brought the continents together and created a seascape around the Pacific basin that included places like Acapulco, Manila, and the coast of California. By the 18th and 19th centuries, American merchants had built on these existing connections to launch their own commercial ventures into the Asia-Pacific region, a process that continues today, even as Washington engages in a trade war with China. Shit's wild, bruh. 1964, Ella Baker makes a plea for black lives. In August 1964, civil rights activist Ella Baker stated, "Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons becomes as important to the rest of the country as the killing of a white mother's son, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until this happens." Baker delivered those words during a keynote address in Jackson, Mississippi, just days after the discovery of the bodies of James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, 3 civil rights activists who were murdered earlier that summer. Baker had helped organize the Voter Education Project and Freedom Summer, which brought volunteers like Goodman and Schwerner to Mississippi to register voters. Chaney was from there, he was black, and the others were white. After the 3 men went missing that June while investigating the burning of a black church, the case made national headlines as federal investigators searched for them. But while combing through the area, search teams discovered other bodies too. Murdered black Mississippians whose lives had not been considered important enough to warrant a federal investigation. Chaney, Goodman, and Schwerner were given posthumous Presidential Medals of Freedom in 2014. But the story of those other morbid discoveries, the inspiration of Baker's speech, never reached a satisfying conclusion. Her words continue to inspire activists and especially resonate with the Black Lives Matter movement, built on the premise that the killing of unarmed black Americans should trouble everyone, regardless of their race. It absolutely should. I mean, again, dude, racism hasn't gone away. Slavery hasn't gone away. You know, and clearly, again, we cannot seem to learn from our mistakes because clearly, as this particular section, you know, points out, we've been making these mistakes time and time again. And, you know, these are just several examples of our own history. Just as a country in the few hundred years that we've been around, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't even know what to say. I'm making a video right now, and I'm actually kind of at a loss for words right now, especially because like I feel like I'm just repeating myself. I know I do. It's always the same shit, but it's just, but that's what makes it so frustrating. Is it's always the same shit. Why can't we get our fucking shit together, people? Pull your heads out of your goddamn asses. Wake up. See what's fucking going on around you, and realize that for, you know, prosperity and for everybody to be happy and, you know, have good lives, it's really fundamentally simple. It's really fundamentally simple. We need love, compassion, empathy, sympathy, courage. We need compromise, communication, right? You know, we need to share and treat people with respect and dignity, you know, things like that. And we all need to work. You know, I think it's a shame that people are told, that you have to spend the prime years of your life breaking your back, working for fucking money, a materialistic thing that doesn't fucking matter in the real grand scheme of things, so that way you can hopefully one day, perhaps, maybe provide yourself with a decent life in which you can retire and actually enjoy shit when you're all fucking too old and feeble and broken to really enjoy it anyway. And hey, guess what? You might not even actually fucking get it. You may end up having to just work for your entire fucking life because of the way that fucking, well, everything is. Our Medicare system, schooling for fucking young people, for anybody, right? Just all of these different institutions make it so difficult to do anything. People should be able to just enjoy their lives. And every day, wake up, do things that you want to do, enjoy your life. And if we're going to work, we should work for the common good, right? And I think we should work. Obviously, there's a lot of fucking people on this planet, and people need to pay their dues. People need to play their part, right? Absolutely. So, we should be working for the greater good. It shouldn't be an individualist type of mentality in which we feel like, oh, I need to fucking go out and grind, 8 to 10 hours a day for 5, 6, 7 days a week, work myself into the fucking ground to make money so that way I can fucking blah, 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 blah. Like, come on, people. Come on, man. This shit is crazy. Alright, well, that is the end of this episode, and, there's a lot of things going on in this country and in the world, and it's frustrating, and it's difficult to deal with, but I am very optimistic, and I think that we can do something about it. I think we can turn it around. I have faith in people, and there is love out there, and as long as there's love out there, as long as I exist, there will be love out there. And so I will never stop trying. I will never stop fighting. And I hope we can come together and finally turn things around. So that's the end of the video, guys. And, as always, if you like it, subscribe. Hit the like button. Share it. Tell your friends about it. Obviously, I have my other podcast, which is my sports podcast, Dolphins with Dylan. So check that out as well if you're a football fan, particularly a Dolphins fan. And I'll see you again soon.